Hi, I'm Phyllis and my website is southernfrugal.com. I wanted to do a little video today on cooking a rump roast. Now, I think I mentioned in a couple of videos back, I don't know, last week or so, about doing some videos for those people who work and who want to be able to cook quick meals and that kind of thing. So today we're going to do a rump roast the way I used to do the rump roast when I was working and had two small children. Most ovens now, of course, have timers on them, a timer so that you can have a start and stop time. So what I would do is have the rump roast completely frozen and go ahead and put it in tin foil and put it in the oven when I left, anywhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and would set the timer to go off usually at maybe for a rump roast about 2:30 at 325 degrees, and then by the time I got home at 5:30 it was done. Now you always want to put in the end time for it to stop, so you want a start time and an end time anytime you put anything in the oven and you want it to cook when you're not there. So let's get started. Now with this rump roast, I want to see if y'all can see the grain of it runs like this. So after it's done and I'm going to slice it, I'm going to slice it across the grain. I am going to cook it well done. I don't particularly like rump roasts that aren't done. So what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of seasoning in this, not much at all. I'm going to use a little bit of onion powder and just a little bit of garlic powder just to give it some taste. Like that, I'm going to put that right on top of it. Not even going to put any on the other side. I'm not going to brown it or sear it before I put it in the oven. So let's just pretend that this is solid frozen. This is exactly how I did it. So I'm going to wrap it up in tin foil. I'm not going to put any air vents in this bag either, because I want all the juice that's going to come out of this captured in the aluminum foil. So you want to bend the ends up, because you definitely don't want that juice to run out. Just bend it over. Bend this end up. Make sure that the aluminum foil is up past where the roast is, so that juice that's going to come out of it, you can get it all. Alright. So now you don't have to worry about venting it, because obviously the tin foil is not going to be airtight, so it's going to kind of vent itself. Alright. So there it is. Now let's pretend it's frozen. This is exactly the pan I always used. I've had this pan since the 60s, I think about 1963. It is stainless steel. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to go ahead and set my oven. Now we'll pretend it's 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to set my oven to go off about probably 2:30, because I'm going to cook it for about 3 hours at 325 degrees. I definitely want it completely done. I don't want any rare rump roast. So we got it securely wrapped, so in case anything did come out of the tin foil, it'll be caught right in the pan here. Alright y'all, so we're going to go ahead and cook this now, again at 325 degrees for about 3 hours. This roast weighs 2 pounds. And a rump roast kind of holds itself together, okay? It really does. And but we're going to definitely let it cool before we try to slice it. All right, y'all, we'll be back in about, I don't know, 3 hours. We'll be back. All right, we are back, and our rump roast has completed cooking. Now it's well done, and we've got a lot of juice in there, so we're going to make some gravy with that. But first, let's get our other vegetables started, okay? So let's pretend we just walked in from work. We took our roast out of the oven. Now this cooked for 2.5 hours. It was a 2-pound roast on 325 degrees, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But let's get this going. All right, so we're going to have some instant potatoes, because remember, we work. We ain't got time to do all that peeling of potatoes and everything. So we're going to go ahead and turn our burner on. And we've got 1/3 of a cup of milk and 2/3 a cup of water. And we're going to put that in, and I want about 1.5 tablespoons of butter in there. And we're going to bring this to a boil. You do have to watch this because it's going to boil up if you don't. And we're also going to have some sweet peas with this meal. So we're going to go ahead and get those on. That burner on. Oops. I dumped them in the wrong pot. Hold on. All right, we're back. We've got them in the right pot now. So we're going to make gravy in this pot. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that burner on about medium. So we're going to go ahead and put at least about a teaspoon or so of butter in those little peas. We're waiting for our potatoes to come to an almost boil. I mean our milk and water and butter. And we'll put a little pinch of salt in there. And so that's going. The peas are going, and we're going to get ready to make some gravy using the liquid that came from that roast. So what we're going to need is some flour. So what we're going to use is some self-rising flour, and we want the same amount of oil or butter or grease or whatever you want to use in the saucepan. So why don't we just use some of the light tasting olive oil. I'm going to pour about 2 tablespoons in there in the pot, and that pot's heating up now. And we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of all-purpose flour to that. So about the same amount of flour as oil. You can use butter, regular oil, olive oil, whatever you like. And now we want to get this flour and oil mixture a little bit brown. And I'm going to put just a pinch of salt in that, not much. Yeah, now this method of cooking the roast and putting it in your oven on a timer, now the whole idea is to put whatever you're fixing in that oven in the morning before you leave for work with it solidly frozen and wrapped in aluminum foil. Now what that's going to do is it's going to thaw out for the most part before it starts cooking. So you want to set your timer for, if you get home at 5:30, maybe set your timer for say 2:30 or whatever. If you're cooking chicken, you'd want to adjust your time accordingly. Now once this flour and oil get a little brown, we'll turn that burner down because it's going mighty fast. Can y'all see that when you move up closer? There. So that flour's getting a little brown. Now I'm going to go ahead and dump this fluid or this liquid from the roast right in there. Dump that all in. Now I want that roast to be cooling some, so I'll be able to slice it in. Alright, so back to the gravy. You want to just stir that around and let that come to a boil. Don't worry about the lumps. Back y'all up. Whoops. Alright, there you go. Now my peas are boiling. I want to boil those usually about 10 minutes, just to be safe. So I'm going to turn that burner down to medium. My milk and butter and water have still not boiled, so we're just waiting on that. And as soon as my wrong spatula, we're going to use this one. Stir that around just a little bit. It'll be boiling in just a minute. Now, I fixed some, let me put y'all back a little bit. Alright, so I fixed some biscuits, a big pan of biscuits, last night, I think it was, or night before last. Anyway, we're going to have 2 biscuits each, so those are going to go in the toaster oven on bake about 350 degrees. And meanwhile, this gravy is boiling now, so we're just going to let it boil for a while. Not going to worry about any lumps, and I'm sure not going to ever strain gravy because the lumps don't hurt a thing if there are lumps in it. So we're going to cut it down to simmer. We've got our little peas down simmering, and we're still waiting for the milk to boil in this pot. It's coming though. All right. Now when I first got in from work, what I did was break up some lettuce and washed it real good and drained it. And I cut up a tomato and a little cucumber. So we're going to go ahead and dump that all in together. Wait a minute, let me drain a little more water out of this. All right, let's back y'all up. Back up. All right. My pot's boiling now with the milk, water, and butter. So I'm going to go ahead and dump in 2/3 of a cup of the instant potatoes. That's going to come off that burner because I don't want it to continue to boil. I'm going to let that sit there and cut that burner off. Take a little whisk. My gravy's boiling now. Take a little whisk and kind of stir that around a little bit. Now I haven't put any seasoning in this other than a little bit of salt. I did put garlic and onion powder on top of the roast though. So we're going to continue to let that simmer. The peas are still simmering a little bit. And so now we're going to get this salad together. So this took about 5 minutes to break the lettuce up, cut up the tomato and the little cucumber. We'll dump that in. And we're going to just use 1 tablespoon of some Duke's mayonnaise. Or a little more than a tablespoon, because this is a big spoon. That's probably a tablespoon and a half. Just mix that all in there. Mr. Bucky calls this a wilted salad, or no, he calls it a wet salad, excuse me. That's what his mother called it. My mother called it just lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. Now I did put a little cucumber in there because I had one. It says little crispy cucumbers. All right, so I'm going to leave the spoon in there, and this is going back in the refrigerator because we've got to get our bread warm. So I've got 4 biscuits that I made either last night or night before. I can't even remember. And I'm going to put those in the toaster oven at about 350 degrees until the rest of this meal is ready. All right, we've got everything going now. Now I need to get the tea in the glasses and slice some of that roast, and we'll be ready to eat. So we'll be back. All right, we are back, and it's been just a few minutes. And of course I put the potatoes back on the burner to make sure they stay warm. Cut the burner off on the peas, and the gravy is ready. And I've sliced the rump roast. So we're going to get this on the plates. I've already fixed the tea, the salads in the bowls. And that little bell was the biscuits are heated, so we'll be back. I'll show you what this looks like on the plate. All right, here's the meal. There's the roast beef with the gravy, or the rump roast, the instant potatoes, peas out of a can, and then a little salad with mayonnaise and tomato and cucumber, and 2 buttered biscuits for Mr. Bucky and 2 for me. Yeah, he started eating 2 biscuits every meal now for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, I want y'all to come back in a few minutes because we're going to go ahead and eat, and I'll dish up the dessert, and I want to talk to you about this cooking meat and chicken and stuff in the oven while you're at work. So we'll be back in just a little while. All right, we are back and have finished our meal. We've even got the kitchen all cleaned up, and we're ready for dessert. Now, today, earlier this morning, I made some island pineapple Jello flavor, and all I did was use the liquid in the fruit cocktail to be part of the water that was added to the Jello. I put all the little cherries right there for Mr. Bucky, and I also made something else. So first let me dip this out. So we're going to dip us some in the bowl. And this is the way that a lot of people made Jello in the 1950s. Almost everybody knew to add a can of fruit cocktail to their Jello. And I do like this island pineapple. It just tastes very, very good. All right. Oops, there's a little, I'll drop some of that. Bad. All right. So we're going to put that back in the refrigerator. And there'll be some for tomorrow and probably a little bit for the next day. Now, here's the surprise. Look what I made. Can y'all see that? It's whipped cream. And I made it with my blender, my immersible blender, and I didn't splatter it everywhere. So apparently this little thing works with more of the straight sides and a little bit deeper. So one of the people making comments had mentioned the different things that she made with the immersible blender, and this was one of them, and she was telling me how to do it. And I think a couple of other people mentioned making whipped cream using it. I can't tell you how happy I am with that. I made this in like 15 seconds. I kid you not. I dumped the whipping cream in there, and I didn't even cool the bowl. You know, like before when you make it with a mixer, they tell you to cool your mixer blades and your bowl. And I used to put them in the freezer, and then you mix it and it splashes everywhere and all that. Well, nothing happened because I put the liquid was over those little holes. Yeah, a lot of y'all said that, and that I should have a container that had more straight sides and was taller, and that's what this was. So we're going to put some of that on top of our Jello. Yeah, so all I did was I put the sugar, I put the whipping cream in, I put the sugar in, and I put the vanilla in, all in together. I didn't even mix anything up beforehand. So there we go. Perfect whipped cream, just perfect. Mr. Bucky always likes a lot on his. There we go. There's his, and here's mine. All right, y'all, so we're going to go ahead and say goodbye for now, except I wanted to mention about cooking stuff in the oven the way I showed you I was fixing this roast. Now, the roast I fixed was not frozen ahead of time, but when I worked and had 2 young children, I would have the roast and season it however I was going to season it, go ahead and put it in the aluminum foil, get it, you know, real tight on there, and put it in the freezer. Get it frozen solid. And so then when you put it in your oven at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, totally frozen, it was ready to go in there. You didn't have to undo it and add anything to it. It's frozen hard as a brick, okay? Then you set your timer for the time you want it to start cooking, and always, always set the timer for the way you want it to stop cooking. Because you don't know, you could be coming home from work and have a flat tire or something and get detained for several hours and the thing would still be cooking. So you want to make sure that you have the cutoff time set too. So you can do chicken that way. You can do a whole chicken by cleaning and whatever you need to do. Take that stuff that they put inside it out and all that. Go ahead and put it in the tin foil or even whatever kind of container you're going to cook it in, put it in the freezer, get it frozen solid as a rock, put it in the oven when you get ready to leave for work, and what it's going to do is thaw out. Now, it won't thaw out as fast as it would if you had it sitting on the counter, because you remember you've got it all wrapped up, plus it's in an insulated oven. So by the time about 2 or 3 o'clock comes, it's going to be pretty well thawed out. The oven's going to heat up, starting out slow, because it's going to get up to 350, 325, and then it's going to gradually, if it hadn't completely thawed out, it will thaw out. Then you just cook it. And so when you come home, you open the door, your front door, and you can smell your supper almost done or completely done. It's great. Saves a lot of time. So anyway, I wanted to do these videos for people who work, and I know a lot of times when you work, it's better to go out to eat because you're tired. Well, if you have a big part of the meal, which would be the meat, done when you get home, you can just add the vegetables to it, and you can have your supper ready in probably less than 30 minutes. So anyway, I want to share all that. So we will see y'all next time. Bye for now.